Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marshall Occurrence Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day, anti-telepathy all day, anti-Freemasons all day, anti-gang stalker all day. Yeah, so this message right here is going to be about World War III, World War III. It's inevitable. World War III. World War III is inevitable because of the Americans. You might think it's going to be North Korea. You might think it's going to be China or Russia that's going to provoke it. You might think that this Russian-Ukrainian war is going to provoke World War III. Whatever the case may be, it's going to be America that's going to be the catalyst to World War III. And here's why. Besides the obvious tangible militaries, the United States government and the American community has already provoked a war with the kingdom of God. Okay, you can act like I'm superstitious if you want to. You can act like it ain't gonna mean nothing. You can act like you can just push us around and play with us. You've already provoked a war and it's not gonna stop. So considering prophecy where God ends all wars, it's safe to say the kingdom of God is involved in the last world war. Boom, out. That's a 7. The kingdom of God is going to be involved in the last world war. You never thought about it like this, right? Just give me a little credit. Just give me a little credit. That's all I'm asking for. The kingdom of God, the spiritual military, is going to be involved in the last world war because we know that God in his kingdom ends all of the wars. In this, he ends all of this with this final war. And it's safe to say World War III probably will be the end. Just looking at everything else right now, COVID and the state of the people, black on black crime, hate in the community. Just looking at everything, World War III probably is going to be the end, right? So that being said, God's kingdom is going to be involved in the final war. That's why all of this had to happen the way it did. Don't blame yourself. You just got used by the kingdom of Satan. That's all it is. He uses and pimps out people all the time. You're not alone. Okay? But it's forward march, you know what I mean? This is World War III is already in effect. It's already on the moving forward because the American kingdom has fought against the kingdom of God. It has not went right with God. And American Christians, what you need to understand is this. You don't have a patent on Jesus Christ, okay? And there are good Christians here. But you cannot speak for the majority of the Christians. You can't speak for the majority of the hearts of the Christians and the majority of the people here. I can't do it. You can't do it. Okay? God is going by the average of all the situation. And the average of the situation is, most Christians here are pulled down by the culture. They're not seeking the Lord. They're not fasting. Fasting is not something to sneeze at. You know what I'm saying? It's a big part of a Christian's life, and everyone cannot do it. If everyone could do it, why everybody ain't doing it then? Where people have proclaimed the name of Jesus Christ, but never went on a fast more than a couple days. Why is it fasting a lifestyle when Jesus Christ said some spirits would not come out but by fasting and prayer? So fasting is a lifestyle, yet you don't see that on the Christians here. You know what I'm saying? So, their discernment is very low. Their discernment is very low. So that means that really they can't tell you what's going to happen right now. They can't tell you what's going to happen. They can't tell you what's going to happen. All they can tell you is that, oh, help us, and God is bless America. God can't bless no mess. They already got 50 states of gay marriage. That's the whole country already sealed away to the satanic kingdom. It's already part of the satanic kingdom. Okay, World War III is already in effect. America is not on God's side. Okay, and you can sit up here and make all the excuses in the world. You can sit up here and act like it doesn't matter. You can sit up here and act like what I'm saying is optional, it's a certain perspective. It's not a certain perspective. If you either can live in sin or you can't. You can't live in sin and have God. You cannot do it. They have 50 states of gay marriage. End of story. I don't need to open up a whole dialogue about this situation. They got gay marriage in all 50 states. End of story. It's just, and so that's already the separation of God from America, or America's separation from God. However you want to look at it, there's a separation. Okay, they've gang stalked Christians, not just me. They try to make me some famous enemy, which I'm well aware of, which is cornball foolishness for a cornball country. That means nothing to me. Okay, they have COVID-19. They can't tell you how to get rid of it. They can't tell you nothing. All they can tell you is that God didn't put COVID on us, and God bless America. But you still can't tell us why exactly you have it more really than everybody else. You still can't tell us why all this other stuff is happening too. Like just the evil, just the darkness that's all of a sudden. The bottom line is, however it got here, I don't know if it got here by whatever means COVID-19 got here, it is a plague from God. Because God can use man to plague you. Let's not be ignorant-minded of that. I didn't say God. See, you didn't ask me this question. Well, if God did it, if God plagued us, how can he do it? He has many ways to do it. He can use man. He can use man to plague you. He can use the bat. He could use a bat too. God can cause evil to come on you from man, or just by allowing spirits to have their way with man. God can harden the hearts of people and you lose. You see that in the Bible, where God hardened the hearts of kings. Okay? He can harden the hearts of people. So when you find people like me, and maybe God has hardened my heart towards your community, that means you've been doing too much evil. That's what it means. When he hardened the hearts of kings, you have done too much evil. And now, guess what? Now God can utilize that against you. Well, if God hardened the hearts of kings or his people, it's not going to be a good situation. Okay? So the bottom line is this. Christians can no longer, in March 2023, Christians can no longer stand with America. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you manipulate. Christians are not a part of a gay country that has 50 states of gay marriage. You can no longer vote. You're no longer part of it. World War III has already begun because the American community has been gang stalking Christians. I'm trying to show you what the catalyst is. They've been gang stalking Christians. They've been playing around Christians like it's a game. And so the kingdom of God now is involved against the American kingdom. And the American kingdom is going to get other countries involved to try to stop what God is doing to this country. And so then God is going to stop those nations. And then there's going to be a world war because of that. Because once other countries see all this war going on, they're going to fight against what's wrong, and then the world war is going to explode. So they're going to see America use other allies because that's what they do. They can't stand on their own. I fought them, so I know. They won't fight you on their own. They'll join as many people as they can to their cause. And so when they start losing, which they have already as a community, now prepare for the American community now to add another country to this war. This gang stalking war that they have against me and other Christians. Prepare now that they're losing and being defeated with the 43 states of child marriage, and they officially are defeated as far as integrity. Hear this part. Now prepare for some other country to come on the scene to help them. Here in America. Because they've already lost. Now they don't have no integrity. Okay, so now expect them to join someone else. They've already started to do it. They've already probably had the talks. So the kingdom of God is already watching the other countries that America is involved in. Anybody that America is involved in and with, and that feels that they can defend America when they're wrong, God will fight against any country that will defend this country when they're wrong. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you with. And God can take as many nations as he wants. We're not going to play a circus game, bro. These people are marrying children. They deserve to die anyway, in my opinion. They deserve to die a long time ago for the whole history of this country. What you want me to pick from to show you why they deserve to die now? What you want me to pick from to show you why they have legitimate enemies now? What you want me to show you? The whole time they've been racist towards black people? They never got that right. They kept that alive to the end of times. That's how racist they was. They kept a racist system until the end of the world. Shows you how racist they was. It's not going backwards. It's only going full speed ahead, man. Listen, man. Listen. I don't know how to say it any other way. You can't play games, bro. You can't play games in the world, man, and then try to tap out, you know what I'm saying, when things get rough. You don't see me tapping out. I'm standing on my own. There's not one other person that's standing with me. Therefore, there's not one other person that deserves to reign with me. Who deserves to reign with me? There's no one. Okay, you might have helped me here and there, but do you deserve to reign with me? Because you helped me here and there a little bit? That's not going to hold up, bro. Have you taken my perspective on this situation? Have you spoken as I've spoken? Have you done the work I've done? So you can't really say that you really deserve to reign with me, per se. So I stand alone, man. And I want lames to stay out of my lane. I want docile people, cowards to stay out of my lane, like as if me and you was working together. Not really. Okay, helping me out here and there, doing a couple things, running around, all of that. Nah, they ain't gonna hold up. We want to see, if you're gonna rule and reign with me, we want to see you have put in just as much work, if not more, than I've done. That's not the case with anybody else. I'm the only one. Okay? So, the Americans have started war. Now, you can take it seriously. You can take it as a joke. You can take it however you want to take it. The Americans are using technology, spiritual technology. When I say spiritual technology, witchcraft, telepathy, divination, all of that. That's a type of technology, if you will. We call that's a spiritual technology. They've utilized that against God's people, right? So it's not going to stop. This war is not going to stop, right? There's too much repercussions for them to pay. They wanted to go up and up with it when they lost. You know, they wanted to go up and up with it. So, you know, God's going up and up with it too. And listen, man. See, they're used to what you don't understand about America. They're used to people bowing down to them. And then when it comes to the kingdom of God, now it's a real threat. It's a real threat that you can't get rid of. So what's going to happen is they're going to continue to play with us, and they're going to continue to do things, and it's going to fall apart. Other countries are going to come in, and people are going to see the evil that the other countries and all they're doing, and then they're going to attack that, and then that's when the world war probably will happen. Because this is no way near over. This is nowhere near over. Okay? So I know you're used to the black man laying down and dying, ain't you? That's what you thought was going to happen to me, huh? You thought I was going to be a martyr one day and just die. Just give up and die. Why would I do that when I see you losing? I mean, I'm not oblivious to it. You got all this stuff happening. You got snow in California. You got a lack of snow here in New York where it's supposed to be. You haven't had a decent snow all this year, but California got one. How ironic. California got snow, but New York don't. Oh, that's by coincidence. Okay. COVID-19 is not leaving. I could go on and on. You got a war with Russia that's not going to stop. They're not going to stop because they feel like you're the reason why it's at where it's at. You're the reason why it went on as much as it did. If you would have let them stand on their own, then this would have been over. They would have had to come to some type of compromise and surrender properly, and then it would have been over. But when you fueled them, you kept the war going on. If you would have let them spin their wheels, they would have had to come to a sense of agreement. They would have had to come to a sense of agreement with Russia that's reasonable, based on their wrongs. But if you just fuel them, they can just stand in whatever they're doing. You fueled the fire. And everyone knows you vicariously fought against Russia through Ukrainians. Nobody's stupid. That's what you did. Okay? And you're not going to play the tough guy and the bad guy that you was in the 80s. I know you was tough in the 80s. You're no longer like that. You're not the same military that you were in the 80s. Your soldiers, I guarantee you, are built nothing like they were in the 80s, in the 90s, and in the 70s, and the 60s. They're not built like that no more. You rely more on technology. That's what you rely more on. That's what you're using in my room, in my apartment. All kind of technology, all different types of things are targeting this room. And all it's going to come to is destruction. That's all it's going to come to, because the longer you play games with me, one man now, playing games with me, listen, man, we shutting this whole thing down based off that technicality. One man, you deserve to die, okay? You've seen clearly how my life is. You deserve to die. End of story. We ain't trying to hear nothing else. I don't need nobody else with me. You are now in World War III, okay? It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. You got child marriage in the country. That's a catalyst to anarchy. So you got child marriage. That's going to give all the American citizens a pass to not obey you anymore. Who's going to obey a pedophile? Anybody feel like obeying some pedophile person or a pedophile country that's marrying children? Anybody feel like obeying that? So no one feels the need. No one feels that that's honorable anymore, right? No one feels the American military is honorable either with the UCMJ program that has the age of consent of 16. No one feels that that's honorable anymore, do they? No one feels that's honorable, right? Okay, so then why would you have respect for the military? Why would you have respect for police, law enforcement when they enforce laws for a country that has child marriage, but then they go lock up somebody for child molestation? So anarchy is already on the way. Anarchy is what's on the way. No one feels the need to obey this country anymore. You feel the need to obey people that's contradicting themselves that sharply? That's why it was all meant to happen. It was all, this is fate. Don't you feel it? This is fate. Because anarchy had to happen. And we all believed that anarchy was going to come, right? We just didn't know how it was going to come. It came in the form of child marriage in America, where a whole community and culture has been under the perception that we are a country that loves children and protects children. It has not been the truth, and it's the straw that broke the camel's back, because you've had racism, you've done everything possible, and now we find out that now you're marrying children. If it wasn't anything else this country could do, if they had not done enough damage to their own people, if it wasn't anything left they could do, they went and married children 3 years ago. 3 years ago, they passed the last child marriage law. If they could not do anything else, that's the last thing they did. And it's over. That's the credibility totally of America, right there in a nutshell. See, what you thought was that America was going to last forever. You thought it was going to last. Tell the truth. You thought you look at all these sci-fi movies and you thought America was going to go into 2085. We're going to have a new 80s. We're going to make it to the new 80s. I don't think so, amigo. I don't think so. I don't think you're going to make it to the 80s, buddy. When I first came into the millennium as a Christian in 2000, I just sized up how it felt. And I feel like the world won't go on to about maybe, and I'm not predicting, but I felt that the world probably won't make it too much far past 2050. Which is what? How many years is that? It's 2023, so 20 years, 27 years. That's about right. Look at it for what it is. About 27 more years? Yeah, that's about right. And I felt that energy. You feel me, right? 27 more years of all this foolishness. COVID-19, all 27 more years. 27 more years from now will be 2050. Look at the present state of everything. COVID-19, crazy people, Russia going to war with America. There's no unity between America and Russia, which means spies and all of that and all of it's about to be it's about to be crazy, you know? And so imagine 27 years later from now. From where we are now, not knowing what's going to happen now, not knowing the future's going to hold. Just look at 27 more years from now, based on black crime, people killing their own kids, all of this stuff that's going on already, the state of the ghetto, all of that, right? 27 years later from now, almost 30 years now from now, how you think the world going to be 30 years from now? That's the end. Okay, so basically, man, it's inevitable. That's what I'm trying to show people. World War III is inevitable. It's gonna swallow up all the ratchet people of the community, all the people that think they're so bad and tough, and all these so-called righteous people that hold up righteous cause for their communities. All of that's gonna be gone. Because it's hypocrisy to a fatal degree in all these communities in America. There's no reason to keep America alive. I always ask people this: give me one good reason this country should go on. One good reason. I challenge people. I challenge intellect. I challenge people's thoughts. I challenge truth and facts. I challenge everything you believe. That's how you know I'm not up here lying. This how you know this ain't no gimmick. I challenge people's thoughts. How you a gimmick and you challenging people? Rightfully so, with facts. Come on now, you a gimmick. And you've been a gimmick too long. Tell me one reason why your country should go on. Besides your little dreams of your little ballerinas and all of that kind of stuff. My daughter's an inspiring ballerina. And my daughter is an aspiring ballerina. On the weekend, she just eats a whole bunch of cake and starts dancing around in the living room as a ballerina. We make her an upside down pineapple cake and she just dances all around, hyped up on sugar. I'm sorry, bro, but that ain't gonna hold up. That ain't gonna hold up for why we should go on as a community. I'm trying to show you there is no valid reasons why your community should go on, and you done got so laxed and used to living and surviving because of the security of your community based on the military, the National Guard, and the police. You're so used to that, and now evil has overtaken the country, and they're no longer effective as they used to be. You don't understand the concept of you not having a reason to go on anymore. You don't understand that perspective. You have no reason to go on anymore. You have too many kids have died. Too many kids in the black community has been killed, and you just chalked it off as the game. Charge it to the game. Charge it to the game. How many kids have you charged to the game? How many kids have you charged to the game? And you don't know how special those kids were. Whether my motives are right or wrong, this is facts. That's what I love about facts. It's not a biased situation, now is it? Well, it's not a biased situation. You did too much killing, you gotta go. Whether my motives are right or wrong, I'm right about that. Right along with right or wrong motives. I'm right about the situation, whether my motives are right or wrong. Listen, that's why I love the facts. Listen, man, you've been doing too much killing of kids, right? For you to even think that you deserve to go on. Okay? That's what it is, man. Okay? It's been too many kids that done died in your country. Okay? And you just thought life, you got to charge it to the game mentality. Let's just keep it 100. That's what it is. You got to charge it to the game mentality. Because they conditioned, your community conditioned you to feel like, that's part of the game, that's part of the struggle. Well, God ain't looking at it like that, buddy. Oops. God ain't looking at it like that. Oops. That's where you got in trouble. You got in trouble because you got so comfortable in this charge it to the game perspective that you did not consider that God doesn't share this perspective with you. Yeah, there we go. Now it's dawning on you that God doesn't share the perspective of you at all. Boom. It's been too much killing of the kids. And you all, most of you on the average, you have a charge it to the game mentality. Yes, you do. That's what it is, basically. Like I don't know a little bit. Like I don't know a little bit about this stuff out here. You got to charge it to the game mentality, and God doesn't share that mentality with you. So where you think God at? Now you see what I'm saying. Now you're waking up. You thought you was woke, but you ain't waking up until you start realizing how God is looking at all of this situation. All these kids being killed, and you've been having this charge it to the game mentality for quite too long. Over 40 years, you've been having this charge it to the game mentality about this violence out here. Over 40 years, 4 decades, you've been charging it to the game, charging it to the game, charging it to the game. Now, God being holy, right? What do you think God's mind is at? While you've been cool with the culture, you've been kind of embracing this gang banging mentality. You've been kind of embracing this street life and thug life. While you've been halfway embracing it, haphazardly embracing it, or fully embracing it, God has not shared this mentality with you. Yeah, now you see. While you've been biased about it, barely talking about it, God has not shared this mentality with you. You've been fooling the white man. You've been getting past him. You've been getting him on your side about things, but you ain't got God on your side about it. You ain't got God on your side about it, buddy. And so you safely secured the white man's acceptance and embrace on your side, right? You secured that, but you didn't secure God's acceptance. You didn't secure God's mercy. It's gone. It's gone. And who am I to say that? Of somebody who studies the word of God and knows God by his word. And I know that you're not going to play with God and sit up and talk about what police is doing all the time, talking about what they doing, but you sitting up ignoring a full crisis of death in your own community. What do you think? How you think God is seeing that part? You're talking about police brutality over here, right? But you are totally biased, which God is aware of too as well. You're totally biased to your own community killing each other. You barely hear people talk about it anymore. Right or wrong? Do better. That's all we hear. That's become a cultural term that people say, do better. Like that's going to change something. Because they too scared to tell people the truth because they don't want to be canceled themselves. They don't want to be rejected themselves. So they don't go hard when it comes to talking about things that they already thought about themselves like I do. Most good black people feel like I feel. They do. They do. They do. They feel like me. Okay? How can you sit over here and talk about police killing? And it ain't no sellouts. Ain't no Uncle Toms and every other word you want to use. Cooning or whatever other word you want to use. It's the truth. You sit over here and complain about white people killing you, but you killing each other more. And you think, and here's what people didn't tell you that I'm telling you. You're charging into the game. That's what you're doing. You're charging into the game. How you think God sees it? Where do you think God is concerning all of this? That's the best way to put it. Where you think God is? Oh, he just cool with you. He just cool with you. Okay. Okay. So that handles this whole black movement mentality that many of you Americans may have. That shuts that down. Okay, Hispanics. Now I gotta shut down. I hate to say it. This might sound cruel, but I gotta shut down all your hopes and dreams because that's what's making you think that this is about to go on another 50,000 years. So I got to shut down all your hopes and dreams with the facts and the truth of you charging things to the game, and God ain't looking at it that way. And he hasn't ever looked at it that way. That's got to be understood right now. Your mentality versus God's mentality. Your biased ways when God is not a respecter of persons. So that's shut down. Now, the Hispanic or Latino community, here's where you line up. Here's where you line up. You have not been involved vigorously in the community. You have not been involved vigorously in the community. You have not been involved vigorously in the community of America. Only thing you've been vigorous about is going out and working. You good at that now. I give you that. You're vigorous when it comes to working. You're vigorous when it comes to working. But when it comes to everything else that involves our community, you might be vigorous with the culture a little bit. But when it comes to vigorous nature with politics and real issues, you're just a minority. No pun intended. You're a minority, right? And you're not involved in this real stuff that's going on. You're not involved enough. If we seen Hispanics or Latinos pull up on a situation, everybody know they there. Because there's just too many in their tribe for it not to be. So if we saw you, we couldn't miss you, in other words. So we don't see you nowhere. When it comes to these shootings and all this stuff that goes on, George Floyd and all these different things, I'm just giving examples. We don't see your population populating the situation. So what that means is you're just an innocent bystander, basically. So therefore, unfortunately, the bad part about that, the cons, here's the cons with being an innocent bystander in this situation with these wars and all of this going on in these politics. This is the cons about. The pros is you're not involved. The pros is you've had peace the whole time, right? You've had good peace. Sit around, drink your coffee, go home, hang out with the kids. You've had your peace, right? You ain't have to be involved in white politics and black politics and white issues and black issues. But here's the cons. You're not considered when it comes to whether this should go on or not. Well, you haven't been involved. You've been an innocent bystander. You played the role of just working. That's the role you played in minding your business. That's what you did, which is a good strategy. It's a good strategy for peace, but it's not a good strategy to be considered when we're talking about advancing and moving forward in this community, and whether your position should be considered when advancing into this community. Unfortunately, working is just not all humans are built to be. And if that's all you've been doing, then most people are, I'm not trying to be offensive, but most people are just going to see you as workers in these big wars that we have going on. Now you see what I'm saying. So I'm not trying to be offensive, but that's how it looks. Like you're just workers in a whole big other scheme of things. And so you can't be serious when you think that your position is going to be relevant in this situation, because you've just been working and that's it. And that's good. That's a noble thing to be and do. But be 100. Let's be 100. You don't involve yourself enough, because in the politics and in the struggle of America. Now, you have had people that have, but you know what I mean. Don't play stupid now. Read between the lines, right? Read between the lines. You know what I'm talking about. This major, major struggle that we all have been talking about, right? If you were involved in that, we would have definitely seen you. That's what I'm trying to show you. Is that as many people that you have in the Hispanic or Latino community, as many people as you have, how could we not see you there if you were involved? If you were really involved, we couldn't miss you. No, that's being real. That's what I'm saying. So how can you feel that you play a position where you make or break this situation? I know, man. Everybody got dreams and everybody got aspirations for their family. But you didn't play the right position fully, and now I'm showing you that. You didn't play it right. See, in war, you ever seen Hunger Games? The first one, I think the first or the second one, where the contestants, it was the two contestants that went underground and they hid in the whole war. They hid in the whole war. The whole thing was going on, and their strategy was to hide. They hid the whole time. That's how the Hispanic and Latino community is. Your strategy has been to just hide and just stay away from it and sidestep it. And I'm going to tell you one reason you've been like this as well. It's because the white man told you, culturally speaking, just stay away from black people and we'll take care of it. That's why it's moving. Why? Explain to me why we ain't one unit then. Explain to me, if we are the same, explain to me why we ain't one unit then. Explain it to me. Because They wanted a perfected workforce, and they had to separate the mentality of black people who seen the money. We seen the gold that the white man has in his house. So we changed our whole, how we move, our whole energy, because we knew we could have more. You, on the other hand, you've been coming here faithfully from different places. So you came here where he could play on your desperation and your drive to survive, and your aspirations being in another country. He played on all of that and perfected a workforce which separated from this country and just worked. And I hate to say it, like cattle. He made a farm where he separated you from all of us. Now you see what you have. This is the truth. And this explains why, for the majority, that they're just working and laboring, because it's a workforce that the American government perfected, where they stay away from us and out of politics. So it's not all your fault. The white man maneuvered strategically so that you would stay out of his way, stay out of politics. He had past experience from dealing with the Native Americans and the blacks. So by the time he got to you, he had experience. Right or wrong, he had experience with a workforce using the different people that he's really not of, right? He learned he perfected a workforce. And now that's why that workforce stays away from us and out of the country, and it can't be considered when it comes to these big wars and everything that's going on. Okay, so that handles that, right? That's the black community, and that's the Hispanic and Latino. I'm showing you the reason why it's not going to go on. Next, white people. Well, that's obvious. They got too many liabilities. They got too many liabilities. They got too many liabilities. You know, you forgive them and you charge it to the game for them too. You think God takes that position? Just like I tell black people, I'm gonna tell white people the same thing. You think God takes that position of charging it to the game when you do us wrong? When you do black people wrong and you've been doing us wrong this whole time? You think God is just saying, let us be in unity and peace? You think that's what God is saying? You sure about that? When he knows really how you think, and really you have no intentions of helping black people out the ghetto, although everyone else is out the ghetto. Well, Chinese people are not in the ghetto here in America. Not really. Mexicans are not in the ghetto. Not really. So who's in the ghetto? Oh, New Yorkers in the Bronx. Latinos in the Bronx. That's what you talk about, the ghetto? Man, I'm talking about nationwide, man. Where are Hispanics and Latinos in the ghetto? Nationwide. I know what I'm talking about because I've been all around the country. Yeah, you can't make this up. Unless you've been all around the country, you wouldn't know this. The only one who is really in the ghetto is black people. The only people that are really in the ghetto are black people. That's it. They're the only ethnicity really there. And you think God is looking? You think God gonna let that just be like that? Oh, it's gonna get better one day? You think God looking at it like that? I gotta separate. That's why I gotta do a video about this. I gotta separate your mentality from God's mentality so that you can see what outcomes you're really gonna get. Because you've been thinking that, really you've just been so focused on like just being biased, and it's just been working for you to survive, whether it be white people, black people, whoever it is. You just been getting by being biased. You know what I'm saying? That's how you strengthen yourselves and strengthen each other or whatever, right? God is not a biased God. Because see, right along with being equal and inequalities and things like that, being biased is just as toxic for the situation. That's a 7 Al. Yeah. Okay. You can be, we talk about inequality and we talk about equality. But let's talk about being biased. And I got to do a video about this because inequality is just as toxic being biased is just as toxic as inequality, because it doesn't produce. What it does is, usually in a negative situation, being biased stops problems from being solved effectively in our community. If all the black biasness is why the black on black crime has not stopped, because everyone's biased about it. Therefore, no one really talks about it. Therefore, it continues on. Long as you continue to be biased, yeah, you're getting by. But are you getting by with God? And now you see where we at. Because you was biased towards each other this whole time. But you forgot that God does not share this mentality. And you've been getting by with this in your own mind, fooling yourself, thinking that God understands. How does he understand? What you mean? What you mean he understands? You're talking to a prophet of God. What do you mean God understands? And so what you did is not look at the clock, the watch, and say, we've been biased a little too long. And it's been all good. We kept things at bay, in our own community. But now it's time to check in with God, the real living God. And he's not biased. And so this explains why everything is going the way it's going, and you wonder when the help is going to come. The help is going to come when you be godly, when you live righteous, when you don't try to play God and ask him to do stuff for you, but you're not living holy. That's when it's going to change. And until then, you can use all the cultural cliches of God's going to bless us and God's going to do. No, he ain't going to do it. Because, listen, man, that's what's been deceiving you. All these American cliches of you thinking that God is with you, and God is holy and righteous. And eventually, how long you think you was going to be able to be biased like that and do what you want to do and not bring proper correction, and none of the leaders bring the proper correction? How long you thought that was going to hold up, man? Huh? For 30, 50, 60 years? When it's an extreme contradiction already that I know God considers. If I consider it, I know God considers it. It's an extreme contradiction of how you've come here and have been here when you was enslaved, and then now here you are killing each other. You don't think God considered that dynamic of you being enslaved once, and the descendants know this happened, but yet they're killing each other? You think God's cool with that? You think God is looking at it as charging into the game because of this struggle and hip hop and all of this stuff? Think about it. He's looking at the fact that you was in slavery. You was fighting for your rights, and here you are now in 2023 blowing each other's head off. You think God's charging it to the game, bro? Man, you can't be serious, man. And so, see, that's why judgment is here. That's what I'm trying to show you. That's why judgment is here. Okay? So let me go ahead and say this and get it out the way. For all the other races, you fall in the same categories as Hispanics and Latinos. We did not see you pull up. We did not see you get involved. If I did not mention you, that means you're not even involved. That's what it means, which means you won't be considered. Okay? Listen, you're another group of people. Be 100 with yourself. You decided to play the role of just like minding your business and working. That works personally. It doesn't work collectively. Okay? It doesn't. You're depending on white people and black people to keep this country afloat. But you're not involving yourselves and letting your voice be heard for black people when all of y'all could have. All of y'all. And you know what race, you know your race ain't pulling up on these issues. They watching it on TV. Okay, that's all you're doing. And so then nothing really is said and done, because what white people needed to see was everybody pull up on for black issues. And it didn't ever happen, did it? Not really. Not like it's supposed to have happened, collectively speaking. We didn't see any of these different ethnicities. You can go through the list. Besides black and white and Hispanic and Latino, I'm talking about all those other ethnicities. Did you see them pull up? Throughout history, collectively speaking, you didn't, did you? You know what they did? They sat back and minded their business, which that's what you're supposed to do. And they worked and they stayed out of these issues as if they were not their issues, right? So how can you claim dominance in a country when these are main issues? How can you come when all of this is said and done and claim some type of dominance? Come on now, man. You can't even play God with that. How you gonna claim some type of dominance when you have not been involved, man? You haven't been here. You are another group of people that decided to be workers. And in any society, whether it be the Roman Empire, whether it be any empire, how is the workers going to decide the fate of a whole empire? Now you see what I'm saying, without insulting you. And that's where we are. And that's why World War III is on the brink. America is subdued as a nation in the kingdom. They got gay marriage. We know that gay marriage is just something that definitely is despicable to God. And God is definitely not with a country that does so. Okay? And so that's the foundation for why you're in trouble with God. Because you thought you could get away with the child marriage. Well, we really don't know. And other countries do this. What about the gay marriage though? What about the gay marriage though? See, that's the foundation. And see, I'm hitting on it like I'm supposed to, but see, I want to make sure you understand it properly and get it the right way. See, if I hit too hard, you're gonna think I'm hateful, right? Against gay people. Which really, honestly, I don't pay attention to anybody too much to be hateful per se towards anybody particularly. It's just I deal with who deals with me, enemy-wise. The Bible says it's a time of love and it's a time to hate. If you're an enemy, that's what I'm looking at. You're opposing me, that's what I'm looking at. But don't flatter yourself if you think, oh, I'm just thinking about you. And I'm just sitting here wondering about you. I'm not doing that. So it's the same thing with gay people. I don't sit up in the middle of the night thinking about you. I'm sorry, I'm just being 100. So I'm just stating the facts. This is something that separates a country from God. Every country doesn't have it. Maybe you just thought that America had it. Hear this part. Maybe you just thought that America had it, that everybody had it. That's not the case. That's not the case. It's not in Russia. It's not in China. It's not in it's not in Africa. For all black people, it's not in Africa. Gay marriage is not there. Not on the average. It doesn't affect, it's not a big portion of the influence or culture of the continent. So now you see what things are. You're floating on this gay marriage in all 50 states, and you just subconsciously think that, I don't know, you think the rest of the world is doing what you're doing. It's the same thing with child marriage. You floating on that child marriage in 43 states, almost 50 states, 7 states away from it. And you think that, I guess you subconsciously think because the age of consent varies across the world that everybody else is marrying children. China is not marrying children. Russia is not marrying children. Okay, newsflash. And that's the biggest superpowers and threats against you. And that's who you compare yourself to all the time, and other people can compare you to all the time. However, I don't feel that you can really compare yourself to them when you have child marriage and gay marriage, which China and Russia does not have. They don't have child marriage. They don't have gay marriage. See, for a wise community and leader, what you will understand is that you can let go of a system and still live. That's what I'm trying to show you. You don't have to die. You have to separate from this system. Okay, but what you're doing, which won't work with a person like me, and it won't work with God who I serve. What you're doing is you're sitting up holding on to a system, and it's time for it to go, and it's time for you to get freedom, and it's the only way you're going to be free from racist white people anyway. And because you can't differentiate yourself as a community from the American system, which really never loved all of us at all anyway, because you can't differentiate the American system from the American community, here you are in my face and other people's face, like, because you're stupid to the difference between the American community and the American system. Hey, I didn't tell you had to die. I've been told you that. This system has to go, and it's for the best. They got 43 states of child marriage. That's for the best. Gay people, I'm sorry, you just got your rights. I'm sorry. You got child marriage. I'm being sarcastic. I'm not sorry, actually. You got 43 states of child marriage. I got gay people on my side with that part. Any gay people object to that? You got 43 states of child marriage in America? Oh, I'm not talking about whether you like me or not. I'm talking about, I'm talking about whether you feel that this country deserves to go on as a system. We're marrying children, contradicting themselves like that, but locking up child molesters in the same system. See, let me say this, and I've said this before. No system can contradict itself in two directions. It has to go in one direction. If you're perverts, you have to go in the direction of perverts. If you're holy people and righteous people, you have to go in the direction of righteous and holy people. You cannot contradict yourself in one system because it makes it invalid. That's what I'm trying to show you. Someone's going to call you on that eventually, and it invalidates the whole thing. That's what has happened to you. You've been locking up countless thousands of child molesters, but at the same time, you've had child marriage, and you've had the age of consent under 18 in 40 states. No system can do that because it insults people's intelligence. How are you going to lock this guy up when they got child marriage over there? Huh? How can you live with yourself? You got one guy incarcerated, but the other guy's maxing and relaxing over here with a child marriage. And so what I've learned in this whole situation is that no system can go in two different directions and live. You can't do it. You got to either be a perverted country, marrying children, and everybody knows, and you can't lock up nobody because you're having sex with children. You can't lock up nobody. You're too submerged in perversion with children to be locking up somebody. So then that's what direction you would go in. If you were really 100 with yourselves, the direction that you were supposed to go in so that you wouldn't collapse and fall as a community and through your system falling, what is that, first of all, you will realize you got the world record for the lowest age of consent. See, a lot of people don't know this. I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, you do. You had the age of consent at 7 years old in the state of Delaware in 1880. That's the foundation of how you thought long ago, right? You never made it right. You never made it right. So that means you never had the age of consent at 18 in all 50 states ever. 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 You never had the age of consent at 18 in all 50 states ever. Let's get that understood. It's never been right. During MLK time, Malcolm X time, and they took no time to talk about it. No disrespect to them, but they took no time to talk about child marriage. They took no time to talk about the age of consent under 18 in 40 states. They took no time to talk about those issues. And Malcolm X, no disrespect, he had a good little time frame where he could have, because he was outing out members of the Nation of Islam for impregnating teenage girls. While he was on that note, he should have looked at the age of consent at under 18 and all throughout America, but he didn't take no time to do that. You ever thought about that? When Malcolm X was outing the Nation of Islam, leaders of the Nation of Islam, right? He was talking about them impregnating girls, somebody there, right? How come him already studying the law and him already watching America as a government, how come he didn't take no time to research in his downtime the age of consent all over the country when he was talking about impregnating girls? And then went on live TV talking about it, but didn't take no time to see the age of consent all across the country. It's a mystery, right? It's a mystery. Can we admit that? I can't make this up. You're already talking about impregnating girls. So why didn't you take the time to look at your real enemy while you was outing people from your own community? That's my only thing with Malcolm X. That's my only personal thing. And no disrespect, I still salute him, what he did, and how he thought and everything. But that's my only thing right there. Now, MLK didn't say nothing. Didn't say nothing about the age of consent. Didn't say nothing at all. And and hear this part, it's never been right in your country. Ever. It's never been right. So we get up to where you got child marriage. You got the age of consent under 18 in 40 states. That's all across the country, obviously. You got the new child marriage law passed under the Trump administration, July 1st, 2019. That's the latest child marriage law. Passed under the Trump administration, right? Nobody said nothing about it as a community. So you know what that means? Up to date, you should be a country that is, if you followed your perverted heart, you would be a country way worse than what you are now. If you was aware of the state of your country, conscious of it, you would be a country by law and culture that is perverse with children, and you wouldn't be locking anybody up like R. Kelly. See how I'm setting people free? That part. There would be no R. Kellys in jail. There would have been no accusations against Michael Jacksons of the world or anybody else or any of these other pedophiles, because your country has been going in the perverted in the perverted direction the entire time. Now hear this part. This is how, although perverted, this is how you would have survived. Because it would have been understood who you are. You would have stood with your government. You as a community would have embodied your perversions, and you would have stood. But what you did was you groomed the whole community in the opposite direction of your perversion direction. You groomed all of us to believe that you were child protectors and child guardians. You had us all believe this. And you also had laws that made deepen our belief in this, where you would lock up child molesters. But here's the bad part. You were so deep in the child perversion direction that you severed your whole government because you contradicted yourself where there was nothing. When you contradict yourself in a system like this, there's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing. Because You have child molesters over here and you have child marriage over here. There's nothing. You see what I'm saying? You're just doing what you do. There's no legal system, right? And that man shouldn't be locked up when you have child marriage over here, right? So you have nothing. And you actually have injustices based on the direction of the perversion of your community that was there from the beginning. Why are you locking up anybody when you've been going in the perverted direction with children this entire time? So now you see how filthy you really should have been. You should have been a perverted country that just, yeah, we have sex with children and nobody gets locked up. Because that's the direction of your legal system that has 43 states of child marriage. Now you see what I'm saying? So how could you be locking anybody up when that's the obvious direction that you're going? Now you see what I'm saying? How could you lock somebody up? That guy's in jail, but this guy has child marriage. This guy has child marriage. This guy's locked up. You have nothing as far as a legal system. And none of those guys, in my opinion, should have been locked up. You just have to realize you was a nasty, filthy country in reality, and that's what you should have been in reality. Locking no one up. Locking no one up when you have 43 states of child marriage. So guess what that means to an intelligent man like me? You have anarchy on the way. Because now it's understood. Because you've been going in two different directions and nobody's trying to hear that, where some guy is starving in prison, but another guy's fat on turkey and cheeseburgers, having sex with a child in a child marriage, somewhere in some pathetic pedophile house somewhere. One guy's fat on cheeseburgers, having sex with a child in a child marriage, while another guy is starving in jail for being what they call a child molester. But another guy's in a child marriage. One guy's a child molester, another guy's a child marriage husband. A child marriage husband. Or a child marriage wife in the case of women. Because they do too. In your country, a 27-year-old woman married an 11-year-old boy. Right here in America. Right here in America. Just in case you want to hear some real cases. You want to hear some real cases? That's a real case right there for you. A woman, an American citizen woman, married an 11-year-old boy. Okay? So see, you were supposed to go in a whole direction of sewage perversion, locking no one else up. Locking no one up for being with children when you're doing it, when you're marrying children, and you're doing, and you got the age of consent under 18 in 40 states. And you pass your last child marriage law under the Trump administration. No, you don't supposed to be locking nobody up. You pass your last child marriage law under the Trump administration a year before COVID. How is that not relevant? How is that not relevant? You see what I'm saying? So to the end of time, you never left this perspective, which means you may not accept it, but which means you never were able to validate anybody being locked up as far as child perversion. No. You just didn't want to go all the way with it like your integrity should have, like your character should have. You didn't want to go all the way with it. So what you did was you contradicted yourself. And when any system, think about it. If you trusted in a system to give you justice, but it contradicted itself, how could you validate that system? Well, they do this over here and they do this over there. And this is the actual system, legal system. This is not con men, shysters. This is the actual legal system. They're contradicting themselves over here with locking up child molesters and child marriage. Over here, this guy is marrying a child, but this other guy got locked up for the same thing. But I trust in this to serve justice. It is not something you should trust in to serve justice, which means it's invalid. You shouldn't even trust nobody that will lock up one man as a child molester, but then let another man eat cheeseburgers and have sex with a child in a child marriage. You shouldn't even trust no system like that, which then again serves my point that it should be invalid as a system. And so this is the revolution. This is the revolution because they contradicted themselves too sharply. See, I'm on my Malcolm X when I talk about it like this. I'm on my Malcolm X. You got a little tongue tied right there. Which is by any means necessary. I am on my Malcolm X. I am on my Malcolm X. That's like a tongue twister. I am on my Malcolm X. For real though. By any means necessary. If it takes this to collapse this foolish system that played games with people, then whatever. And see, that's what you've been gullible, you've been silly, and you didn't realize, oh, okay, man, this is the information. Wow, this is what we need. All you've been waiting for is some uprising from a certain community to overthrow. It didn't work like that. You had to find contradictions in the system, and here it is. This is the major contradiction. That's all that needs to be done. See, you want somebody to rule when everybody should rule. See, many of you pro-black individuals, you want black people to rule. When in actuality, morally speaking, they're not in the position to do it as a community. Well, they're still killing each other. How are they in the position to rule? So they couldn't even rule if you wanted them to. Now you see what situation we in. They couldn't even rule if we wanted them to. They too crazy killing people. So how is they gonna rule? When they all thirsty for money and can be manipulated with money like a prostitute. I'm just being 100. That's not everybody, but it's a lot of people. They can be manipulated like a prostitute that would take money and do anything for money. How can you work with somebody like that? That you don't know if they're gonna sell out for a couple $1 million. Soon as you get something going, you don't know who's gonna sell out in these times and days. You don't know. You can't call it, can you? That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. So really, everybody's supposed to be having a seat right about now. That includes black people. That includes everybody else. White people. Nobody can rule. Nobody can rule. It's only collectively. Only collectively. With the right ambassadors, leaders, and everything. No certain tribe can rule because they all are too dangerous to rule. Black people can't rule, no. White people can't rule any longer, no. And Hispanics and Latinos, we can't trust them either. Not to rule over you. You trust Hispanics and Latinos to rule over black people and white people? You trust that? I do not trust that. Because they haven't been involved enough in our community for people to be comfortable enough with their feelings and with their perspective on other races. And just with their handling of power. We ain't seen that. We ain't seen Hispanics and Latinos really handle themselves politically with power. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We haven't seen them handle power and how they handle power under pressure, et cetera, et cetera. We ain't seen that. Yeah, it looks good, but we ain't seen it though. It looks good, the thought of something like that, but we ain't seen it, have we? That's what I'm saying. So how can you trust it? That makes sense if you listen long enough. So therefore, it has to be a collective effort, all tribes collectively, and no certain tribe popping up with their head up like a whooping crane. Got your head up like a whooping crane, and all you need to do is sit down. Okay? And so, this is what you got to understand. This system needs to fall. When it does, there is no rulers per se. There is no ruler. Because in all actuality, everybody's too dangerous to rule. No one can be trusted to rule. White people showing you right now they can't be trusted to rule. Look what they did. They just passed child marriage laws 3 years ago. Okay, that shows you they can't rule. Okay, they can tell you whatever they want to tell you. Look at the proof that's in the pudding. Okay, you got 43 states of child marriage. How can they rule? That's who's doing it. Who you think doing that? Hispanics and Latinos passing those laws? It's not them. You can't blame them. You can't blame Asians. So the Asians passed 43 states of child marriage. Black people didn't do it, did they? So it leaves only white people who's already running this country, obviously. That's who did it, man. That's who did it. So they cannot be trusted to rule as a tribe any longer. See, what you have to realize is you have been under the rule of the white tribe. That's what it is. And it's done played its course. That tribe they've ran their course with this system, and now the system got child marriage with the child marriage laws passed 3 years ago. Now, how are we gonna trust that? Oh, we gonna work on it? No, and no. See, that's what they telling you. That's what they insinuating. You trust them to work on something? You trust them to work on it when they've never had it right. When it comes to this perversion, you need to look at the whole timeline. I showed you from the very beginning. They've never had it right. They've never had the age of consent at 18. They've never had that right. They have the world record, not Canada, not Mexico, not Puerto Rico. The United States of America has the world record for the lowest age of consent at 7 years old. Some American official, I don't care what time it was, he was sophisticated enough to be an official for the government. He was sophisticated enough to be an official for the American government. He was competent enough, right? So in all his competency, he decides, he or she, and however many people it was, they decide to pass a child sex law at 7 years old, man. You can't say they ain't see kids grow up. They know what a grown woman look like. So why would they choose specifically 7 years old, man? That's what I'm trying to show you. So you don't need any more showing you anything else. That's what I'm trying to show you. You don't need nobody talking about they're going to work on it and fix it. The time has come and you didn't expect it. This is the only olive branch you get. This is the only olive branch you get, bro. If you don't choose this olive branch, if you don't choose this olive branch that's being offered to you, this is going to be World War III, and that's it. The only chance you have is that you will let this system fall as it does, so as it will, and start a new non-racist system where no particular tribe rules. You all rule collectively. That's what needs to happen. Black people don't need to rule, and white people don't need to rule. That's out of the question. And that's all who's struggling to rule here in the American government, and neither one of them need to rule. It needs to be a collective effort. That's what it needs to be. That's the best way the American system needs to run. But that system needs to fall and collapse, and it's a good opportunity to be set free totally from any type of racism. Okay? It goes when you start a new system. Now you see what I'm saying. And this is the only olive branch you get. I'm not saying I'm going to ever be with you again, but under my prophetic anointing, this is what God will offer you. This is the only way, man. And that's how you know I'm of God, because you already know I don't like you. You already know I don't like you. I don't like you because you got child marriage and you contradict yourself. You got child molesters over here and child marriage and husbands over here. So it has to be God speaking through me to tell you what you need to do. Okay? That's all it is. And I'm not going to be with you regardless. I'm moving on. Regardless. Unlike other people, I don't need power. I don't want power. I don't want any of that. I've never asked for it. That's why God has empowered me with his power and his anointing, because I don't ask for it. I don't ask to be a king. I'm not a bloodthirsty person. If anybody has ever thought that, let me straighten something. Let me say, let you hear it from the horse's mouth. Let you hear it from the horse's mouth. I have never been some bloodthirsty person trying to kill to the top. You know the type. I've never been that type of person. And that's why I'm moving like I'm moving. That's why I'm moving like I'm moving. But when it comes to war, listen, there is no discrimination of age or ethnicity. That's how I feel. When it comes to war, there is no discrimination of age or ethnicity. Because that's what people gonna use. There's some cruel people. Like the people I just described, like that kind of person I just described, they only care about being on top. They'll use children if they can to kill you. Go to other countries, and I can't say what other countries did it, but they'll use kids with AK-47s to shoot you. And you thinking, oh, that's a kid, I'm not going to do anything, and you're dead. They don't care what they use, as long as they get to the top, right? They doing it here in America. They gang stalking with children right now. They don't care. They play on when you put anything, when you have a heart that you have, they'll play on that and kill you like that. You care about children? Okay, they'll use children. They use children to kill you. Some people do it in other countries. They put an AK-47 in the child's hand, right or wrong, because they know that you're gonna take your guard down. And so the best law of war is to not discriminate with age or ethnicity. If you black, they'll use your own people. Oh yeah. You think they're gonna use white people? You'll see that a mile away. They use black people. So you can't be, if you're gonna survive, you can't be one of those people talking about, well, I'm with my people at all costs. You're gonna be dead. Because all the enemy is gonna do is bring in infiltrators. People that look like you, know your culture and everything, and come and infiltrate you. You should trust these days somebody that's on the outside telling you the truth, that somebody's all up in the mix. And when nothing going on, okay? But they'll use your own people. And so my law of war is I do not discriminate with ethnicity or age. I do not care. Okay, because I know that my enemy will use any of those things, any weaknesses. He'll use anything that I love or like, or any way he can use women. Oh yeah, I do not discriminate in war in age, ethnicity, or gender. He'll use women. Yeah, he'll use women. Yeah. And for women, he'll use men. You thinking it's all good? Think you got a tenderoni? And it's not all good. That's what I'm saying. So, in the excellent law of war is I do not discriminate when it comes to war in age, gender, or ethnicity. Okay? You gotta be sharp like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what this is war. Nobody plays fair. They use children too. Oh, okay. You like children? Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna use children. You love black people? Okay, we're gonna send a whole bunch of black people their way. People that you esteem as truly black like you. Sellouts to the core. Remember, I told you the biggest sellouts these days are those who kill black people, other black people that kill other black people. That's the up-to-date sellout now. That's the main sellout. Running around here killing each other. Like the guy who killed Nipsey Hussle. That's a sellout. He can never be esteemed. Do you esteem him as a black man? So you don't know what to call it. He's a sellout, man. He's seen already what Nipsey Hussle was doing with the store. I'm sure he knew about the store and all of that, right? The Marathon store. He knew about all of that, right? So you should look besides your personal opinion of this person. You should look besides, your own feelings and be like, you know what? I might feel the way I feel or whatever, or the devil might be talking to me in my head. But this man is doing like some big things for the community. This is a good look. This is big. I ain't look at it that way. You feel me? And that's a sellout. When you stop looking at the bigger cause, the overall cause, you a sellout. Now, if like in my case, if a whole bunch of people play games with me, I can't look at the overall cause. I have to separate. Because the overall cause is wicked. The overall cause has opposed me. Okay? But when you have these people who sit up and see the success of a good person, they see the success of a good person, they could just sit up and just watch that like that, right? And then kill the person. That's a sellout, man. That's your up-to-date sellout now. I don't care about the past. I don't care about that house nigga and field nigga mentality. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about none of that stuff, that cooning and all of that through the 60s and 70s and 80s. I ain't talking about none of that. I ain't talking about none of that keeping it real and all of that stuff. I'm talking about now. The sellouts now are people killing each other, killing people that could have helped the community. When they started killing people like Tupac, the sellouts, that started a new era in sellouts. Because I know Pac I know how he, from what we seen how he was, right? I'm not saying this was some angel. I'm not saying that. As a mature man that has grown up myself, I'm not as biased to Tupac's story as I used to be. I used to be biased like all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? But when you really look at it for what it is from a grown man perspective, without being biased, you know what I'm saying? Like a person could do no wrong. Okay, he beat the dude down. The dude had feelings just like the next person, and he felt some type of way about it. You feel me? And obviously that is Tupac, you're gonna take it more personal. You're gonna take it more, it's gonna hurt your pride more, and you're gonna feel like everybody know more too. You're gonna feel like more people know about it, are gonna know about it. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of it. But even then, I feel like that situation wouldn't have happened if there was already a mentality in the community before Tupac got to that point. He didn't just start beating up people. Before he got to that point, it should have been a mentality in the community where it's like, you know what? I know the streets is the streets, and I know it. I know what you're gonna say. It's cold and all of that, and I understand all of that. But there still should have been a mentality where it's like, even though this person is a jerk, and we do not like him, right? He's getting something done. He's getting the job done.